Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today is mixing his lifelong passion of sweets and desserts with his love of shoes and styles. He's creating sweet treats for your feet. Please welcome the head artist and baker behind these one-of-a-kind footwears being created at Shoe Bakery, Chris Campbell. What's going on, Chris?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on. I think it's awesome. I obviously my number one question always is, what's your go-to like sandwich lunch?
I would say for sandwiches, I would probably go with a little different take on a sandwich. I would say Jamaican patty.
Okay. Jamaican patty. I like that. And and then obviously I have to ask the question, go-to dessert. What's your go-to dessert?
Yeah, it's only fitting, right? Go-to dessert would be any type of cheesecake. I love cheesecake.
Okay. Any particular one, or just as long as you got cheesecake and then you start adding things to it?
I'm a sucker for cheesecake. I think probably like anything with cheesecake and caramel on there. Any style, any way you can think of it. I love those combinations together.
Yeah, man, you can't really go wrong with that. Definitely can't go wrong with that. So I gave our listeners a little taste of Shoe Bakery, but can you tell folks what Shoe Bakery is and what made you decide to start it?
Yeah, sure. Shoe Bakery is a company ran by my wife and I. We've been in business for almost 10 years now, started in pretty much 2013. And I like to call it a place where people can, I guess, design anything they could think of and wear their designs. So it started off as I guess you could call it like a exit of another business I used to have. I used to customize sneakers. Yeah. So that kind of took its course. That was about a business that was 7 years old. And it kind of evolved into something else other than custom sneakers. I wanted to create something that everybody was aware of, something that everybody around the world recognized. And I love sweets. I've always had a sweet tooth and always wanted to taste the newest confections that I could find, and a person that could eat their dessert before their dinner type person.
Yeah, heck yeah.
So man. Yeah, so I wanted this to kind of keep the custom idea going, because I love being able to create something for someone, and we design to come up with a design together, and they be able to showcase that art. And that's pretty much how I kind of got started.
Yeah, it's really amazing. How I came to find out who you guys were is ironically, you and I have never met, but I've known you been following you guys for a while, because a previous guest and a friend of mine, Kelly from Kelly's Homemade Ice Cream, she did something, and she had I've seen her like have your bags, because you guys have purses. You don't just do shoes, but you also like you have purses and accessories that go with it. And I remember, because I loved it, because one of them, and my daughter actually has one of your products, and she has an ice cream sandwich purse. So I just thought it was so amazing. And then when I found out that you guys were here in Orlando, I was like, man, I'm like, this is so flipping cool, because the one thing that, Chris, and if you were to go into, if you go to shoebakery.com and you start looking, you'll notice that they have like flats, wedges, sneakers, handbags, and like he technically kind of like almost like bakes or creates this, when it comes to the different shoes. And so, it's just seriously amazing how you guys have created this. I mean, and the fact that you've kind of taken it, like, I'm all about the little details, like the fact that you even use like a piping bag to add the little details, and like your shoe can look like a cone, like dripping ice cream. I mean, it's freaking, like, I love it, dude. I think it's so cool, like what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
When you make stuff like this, I've always been kind of one of the things I've been intrigued about is like, how long does it take you to make a shoe, like a sneaker or a heel or a flat? Like, how long does that usually take you?
Well, physical hours doesn't take that long. I'd probably say for something like a heel, it really takes only 3 or 4 hours to, make the custom. But it's the drying times and the design times and stuff like that that adds to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it actually doesn't take that long. The sneaker does take a lot longer. I'd probably say 4 or 5 hours on the sneakers easily. So they're definitely a difference.
And is it just you doing all this? Like, I know you and Aisha, your wife, are run the business, but like, are you the only one, the only like baker? Are you like, I know you're the head baker, but are you the only baker? Because that, like, I just seems like I'm like overwhelming then as you're getting orders and all that stuff.
Well, for right now, it is the two of us. We used to have other people who came and helped us with the
Yeah.
shoes, but COVID kind of dampened that a little bit. We used to have a warehouse area, and we basically downsized and shipped a lot of our products in different places to where they were shipped out for us. So we'd have to ship everything from one central hub. But
Yeah.
but yeah, for right now, it's just us.
That's amazing. And then do you, out of curiosity, like things like sneakers, like I know a lot of times you can do, like, you kind of have two routes. You have like the one route where you guys actually design the sneaker and you can just buy it. And then you also have like from what I've seen, you can also do like kind of like bake your own, like you can actually like customize it how you want it. Do you only do like Air Force Ones? Do you have like, is that something like a preference? Or do you do other type brands of sneakers? What's your, because I know obviously your background is doing sneaker design, which you did. I was amazing seeing, like, when I was like doing my research, seeing what you've created. But I was just kind of curious about that. Like, are you bringing in like your own blanks? Or are you using, like, you're like, hey, we like these heels, we like these wedges, we like these brands of sneakers? Or how are you kind of working all that?
So for the sneakers, we for right now we do use the Air Force One base, but we can customize any sneaker and any heel. Um the thing is that when we created the Baker shoe Air Force One design, it takes a long time to create a custom. You have a website and everything, so you
Yeah.
understand. It takes a long time to create a custom builder that people can pick any option, in any sequence that they like. So it takes a long time to do that, and we're working on other models. But for right now, it's Air Force One base. And for the heels, we actually have two different scenarios. Well, three. The customer can provide their own shoe, so it doesn't really matter the shoe, and it matters more so the material. We actually have our own shoe bakery shoes we provide, and there's shoes that say we are out of our a certain size, we can get them somewhere else that's another brand that we know fit customers a certain way. So there's kind of three options there.
No, that's great. And I know, like, even what I love is like the little details, like even like in your, like on your heels and stuff. I've seen that you guys do the, like on your insoles, especially the ones that your shoes say shoe bakery in the inside of the shoe.
Yeah.
And all those things. Like, I trust me, man. I am a sucker for all the little details when I see people, like when there's like a passion to do this. When you decided you guys wanted to do this, because you and I, business wise, we're both about, I started my business in 2013 as well.
Gotcha.
So we've been doing this for a while, and kind of like there's the ebbs and flows of it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, like, so what do you think, what's like your favorite part? What's been like your most favorite part? Because obviously I know you got in a lot of notoriety and stuff like that, but what's been your favorite part? And then what's been like the hardest, or like the hardest part that you think that you would share with someone to be like, hey, like, even though these things happen, look how I've been able to overcome, or, something to that effect.
Right. So my favorite part is something that actually is coming to me a little later down the line. Since we've been doing this for so long, I've had different like mindsets on things, and I've really come to realize that the most important thing, and happens to be my favorite, is the fact that we can really make someone's dreams come true. As far as it's not just a custom product for someone to wear. Like a lot of these shoes I'm making have such big stories behind them, and we're actually working on sharing more of them. But like, for instance, there was a customer that last year bought some flats, no, some wedges from us, and she was getting married. Now, that in itself is monumental, because these are your shoes you're wearing on your wedding, so it's like that's that important. But the fact that the dessert she picked was a pecan pie, and it was her father's favorite dessert, and her father passed, so that was a way for her to have him there, and it all ties in with food and the memory, and it was just a lot. And like I was kind of emotional making the shoe, because
Yeah.
she entrusted us with that ability to take this idea she had and bring it to life, and it was just a lot. And I really appreciated the fact that people come to us and do this thing. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stories of stuff like that, where it really means more than just someone taking something and wearing it. Like, it has, you know that the sentimental value is there for these customs.
Yeah, man. And it's I mean, I could totally see that. I could totally see, like the meaning behind it. And I've seen, like, when I was like watching, I was watching some of the pictures and some of the videos and seeing folks that like have used it for their weddings, but I also
Mhm.
can see people that like absolutely like I mean, it's such an amazing work of art. I mean, I know that if I had a pair of your shoes, I'd be like, man, I don't know if I want to wear them because I don't want to get dirty or scuffed up. So, I mean, I could see people wearing them for like that special day. And then after that, be like, you know what? I'm going to put it in an acrylic box and have
Yep.
everyone look at it like a showcase piece.
Right. No,
So
it's funny you say that, because a lot of times customers are torn. Like, we have the crowd that wears them, we have the crowd that displays them, but there'll be some instances where people switch. Like, they'll want something to wear, and then they get it, and they're like, you know what, this is too nice to wear. And our shoes are wearable. The wearable art, and it's just hard for people to kind of get past that barrier of, man, someone handmade these, and I'm gonna walk around in them. It's a lot. So
yeah,
it's good when you can get people to do that. So
no, man,
switch it up.
I, I totally get it. What's been like, I guess, what are some things that you, based on your journey of where you started, where you've gone through, what are some things that you would tell yourself that maybe you would share with others that you've learned along the way to kind of help them, because I think I feel like you and I kind of, we, even though, like I said, we've never met, but I feel like you and I may have had like that kind of like the ebbs and flows of what business is like. It's like you kind of feel the highs and then you get the lows,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's hard, man. This is not, this is a marathon.
Yeah, it
And
is.
so like what are some things that you think you've taken from that you would maybe share with someone that's maybe going through it, or kind of, is maybe in the beginning process of a long journey, because at the same time it's going to be 10 years that we're both doing business,
Yeah.
and that's a huge accomplishment. Not many people can do that,
Yep.
for so long. And that's kind of hard for us sometimes. It's kind of hard when you're this close looking at it of like, hey, look what I've accomplished.
Right. Right.
So what are some things that you think you would share with like folks going along, through your journey?
Well, I think it's a lot of things, right? That we've kind of gone through, and your vision kind of gets clearer as you go, ironically. So if I had to look back, I would say, of course, consistency. I feel like it's very important to have some kind of game plan, even if it's a business plan, and kind of have like your business plan is like your backbone. And I feel like it's a way for you to be tethered to something. There's going to be so many different things that get thrown at you in business. If it's not a new platform or a new, a new way of doing business. And I mean, if you switch up your business too much, everything kind of gets lost. Um, with Shoe Bakery, I stuck to the theme of sweets. We've had so many different, just for example, we've had so many different people that come to us, that had projects that wanted us to do something other than sweets. And I mean, I could have probably done it, but I feel like the brand is stronger now, because the fact that we stuck to sweet themed things, people more so see us instead of it being anything food. There's so many brands that have done so many different collaborations and stuff with regular, with pizza and burgers and stuff like that. And I feel like it kind of watered us down. But now we have customers that come to us and say, "Hey, I was at a Hello Kitty event or something, and I saw this, and it reminded me of your shoes." But they're at a Hello Kitty event, and they thought of us, which is crazy. So that's one of the main things. The next thing is and it's kind of a contrast, is kind of be a little liquid with with your what you're doing. Like don't just be so rigid to where if things go out of style or things change, you're not willing to change. As you know, social media is a tough is a tough thing right now. There's so many different ways you can go in and out of things, and so many different platforms, and you got to kind of be on your toes. So don't set up your business to where it's really good at one thing and that's it. Like learn how to adopt a different way of doing things, or maybe incorporate a different product that still relates to your main core value.
No, man, I like that. I think that's very true. And I think that's one of the hardest parts sometimes when we get when you get so fixated on your business,
Yeah.
you know, trying to like, how do I keep, how do it's like, and I've seen and I've experienced that where people kind of like, even in my own brand, like what you're saying, like the both sides of it, like where
Yep.
people are like, hey, why don't you do more of this? And I was like, well, because my brand is more sandwich themed. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do other things, you
Right.
know, and it's like, unless it's in that my universe, I'm like, I'm not gonna, I don't want to go veer from it, you know, because I'm like, I'm a big sports fan. And so a lot of people are like, well, why don't you do this? And I was like, well, because how do I
Mm,
do that and make it mix? I'm like, a lot of times, like perfect example, we're both from Orlando.
right.
People are like, hey, make an Orlando sandwich shirt. And I was like, well, Orlando doesn't have a sandwich shirt.
Sandwich shop. Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't have like really a, like we're not known for a certain
For a
particular
certain sandwich.
sandwich.
Yep.
You know, so I'm like, so it's kind of hard to kind of do something like that. I'm like, I can do variations, but you can't really do that. You know, it's like you can't force it. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, man, I totally get that. I totally get that. Do you mostly sell online? Do you guys do markets, or do you do like kind of, I know you do some events and stuff like that. Like how are you guys been kind of growing or kind of reaching your community or population?
For the most part, I would say 80% of our business comes from our website.
That's awesome.
And thank you. And we try to go to events every now and then. The whole COVID thing kind of messed that up for us. But we we kind of noticed that events are great, but they are a lot of work. Even with help. And you kind of have to weigh the amount of pain an event causes
Yeah.
versus, seeing your customers and talking to them, and it's almost like a focus group type thing where you kind of see what they like, what they don't like, which
Yeah.
is that's very valuable, and I miss those things. But what we noticed is online we reach a lot more people, and we can do the same things to an extent. We don't get the personal experience, but we can do the same things. um, and it works out pretty well. We have a small group of boutiques that trade our products, so that's a good thing. And we have a couple of different collaborations with bigger artists and YouTubers and stuff like that. So that's another way we kind of get product out there.
Okay. That's cool. That's cool. How, out of curiosity, just for my own sanity, for like folks like YouTubes and stuff like that, like influencers, how have you guys, is it been one of those where you have someone that helps you do that, like meet other people, or is that something that they've come to you because they're like, hey, I love your stuff? I'm always curious because I'm always obviously like I'm in a foodie brand as well, so I'm kind of always kind of curious on how people go about that because that's always kind of a tough one, right? Like that,
It
you know,
is, yeah.
sometimes when you're doing that interaction sometimes with especially when you're a small brand sometimes.
Well, for us, fortunately, we've been able to create something that's very eye catching. The fact that it's a custom pair of shoes, sneakers is one thing. I mean, that's a big market now.
Yeah.
But the heels and flats and bags and stuff, it catches your eye on social media, and we get a lot of people who contact us. Um, we sometimes we reach out to people if it's like we have to do this with this person, but for
Yeah.
the most part, people contact us, and we kind of got to go through and fish through and see if it's a good fit. But for the
Yeah.
most part, that's the way people get in contact with us.
Chris, do you also do the bags? Do you also design and do the work on the bags as well? I mean, because
Oh,
That's just, I'm amazed by like how do you find the time to do? Because like, I mean, because even though someone will be like, oh well, it's only like 3 hours, yeah, but that's like it's 3 4 hours to actually do it. But then you're designing all of those things, and then you're trying to produce a bunch of it, which I obviously is being sold on the website. So how
Right.
so how do you break that up?
Well, I used to design the bags in the very beginning all the time. But we actually have a small team of designers that are they're not located here in Orlando, but I work with them online to design stuff, get new collections together. I still oversee everything. I still have the main idea.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'll design something and someone will take it and finalize it. But we don't actually hand make the bags. The bags are manufactured. So
Okay.
we only thing we make is the shoes
Yeah.
in
No,
house. So
but if it's in the world, dude, it's in that world,
oh
which is
yeah,
like perfect, right? It's like the
right,
perfect. It makes total sense to kind of go that route of going shoe to bag,
exactly.
kind of those accessories, because you don't just do like purses. You also do. I know you guys also do some kind of like wallets and stuff like that too,
Oh
right?
yeah, right,
So
right.
because it kind of fits perfectly. I mean, who doesn't want a sweet, something sweet in their purse anyhow?
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like a nice little fun thing to do.
It's funny because the shoes came first because that was
Yep.
just the easiest thing to do. Something you could
Yeah.
hand make with your hands. But the bags took a little more planning. But I mean, it was a natural progression. Like those go together like peanut butter and jelly. So
Heck yeah,
um,
man.
and then the accessories came from that. So and then clothing and stuff like that. So it was just something that just naturally happened and it works out that way.
No, and I think it's really been it's kind of, and that's kind of the way to go, right? It's like kind of like that slow and steady build up, build what you're trying to create, and then from there start finding the elements to kind of keep adding to it.
Right.
Kind of almost like if you're building, a good example would be like if you're building a sundae,
Mhm.
you kind of start adding the extra toppings and things like that to kind of go with it.
Exactly.
And then at the end you got like you got a sweet business that people are eating up all the different products that you have, and
Unintended.
they're also become repeat customers, right? I mean that's
Right.
like that's the beauty of it, which I think is great. What do you think has been your recipe for success?
Recipe for success. I would say the biggest thing is having a combination of consistency, a product that's interesting, and something that hits people on a personal level. I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, we've been we've been at it for like I said almost 10 years, so
Yeah.
that's the consistency piece of it. So as someone who's just scrolling through social media, you see something, people go to our website and they see the prices of stuff and they're like, oh wow, that's a lot for that product. But the longer people hang out with us, the more they see the detail behind everything we do, the hard work, the dedication, and they just
Yeah.
kind of fall in love with their brand. Like we have people
Yeah.
who you know they haven't bought anything from us, but they've been following us for years, and they just genuinely love the content to the point where
Yeah.
hey, they're getting married this year, and hey, I've been following you for such and such years. I'm finally going to get something, and I mean that's a great thing for someone to follow you that long and not purchase something is I feel like that's what you're looking for.
That dude, totally, like the fact that like those are the things to me that I think like, and obviously my price points are lower, but like the fact that like
Yep.
people think of you and consistently come back to you, keep following you because they see what you're creating, and then be able to go back and either tell their friends and share it. Obviously, that's like the greatest form of advertising there is, the
Yeah.
word of mouth. But just that aspect of it, I think is just so important. That aspect. Like I truly like it gives me, and I'm kind of curious, like because you have those moments, while you're in business where you're like, man, like does anyone even want this? Like what? Like you kind of have
Yeah.
like those moments of doubt, and
Yep.
then you get like that random message, or you see a random person post and tag you, and they're like, look at me with my cool sneakers I got, or like,
Exactly.
or like, and then you're like, man, I'm like, man, that was exactly what I needed. I needed that energy. Like I needed that, like, that little shot of adrenaline,
Right.
to kind of like tell me like, yeah, that, kind of like I needed that, like, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, I appreciate it so much when I see people wear my stuff or even message me when they like eat a sandwich or go somewhere to eat a sandwich. Like the fact that they're thinking of me, I think is like, it just means the
Keeps you
world to
going.
me.
Yep.
Yeah, it
That's
definitely keeps me going.
that's the same way it is with us on a couple of fronts. Like people, people leave reviews on our products, and they have such heartfelt messages they left in there, like and those kind of things kind of keep you going, like you're saying, throughout the day. Like you could be having like a rough morning or something,
Yeah.
and you will get that review and it would be all worth it, especially if it's like a custom product that you made. But yeah, they'll get the product and they'll realize that at the end of the day, like, this is something custom made for me, and they're getting so much attention, and they'll tell us, hey, I took my sprinkle bag out, and I got 3 4 people who said something on it, and they don't people aren't used to getting that type of attention, and they just love it, and in turn it makes me feel like, hey, I got this person's happy because of something I created.
Yeah, man. No, I totally get it. I totally get it. How So I've always kind of curious when I talk to folks that are like especially husband and wife teams. Are you both like, how, like, do you guys have, I mean, is it one of those that the two of you are kind of pretty even, like in the sense of like, are you a yin and a yang where you both like, if one's kind of low, the other one brings the other one up, type of thing? Or is it one of those where you both like, do you both have the same kind of vision, even though I know you're like the lead designer? Obviously she's got great taste, so she may be like, well, what do you think about this? Like, how does that work when you guys are brainstorming back and forth with each other, or maybe disagree on something? How does that kind of work sometimes?
Right. Well, it's funny you said yin and yang, because that's pretty much exactly how we are. Um, as far as the roles, I do a lot of designing, but she finalizes my design. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
she's really the boss, if you know what I mean. So but I'm anything that has to do with anything visual, website, product development, social media campaigns. I normally lead or brainstorm the ideas, and then it kind of gets finalized in some department um after that. And she deals with a lot of the business stuff, the paperwork and the forms and the emails and stuff like that. And she also is an artist too, so she helps. Like if we have like tons of orders that we're getting out, she helps finalize that and clear coats things, and finishes them up and packs them and ships them. Um, but yeah, I mean, as far as business, like I'm always forward thinking, and she's always like, okay, well, while you're thinking ahead, let me make sure everything we're doing now is at the best build at its best
Yeah.
level. And it works out really well. Like, we're very balanced.
No, that I love that. I think that's so important, to have that person to kind of be able to ebb and flow with.
Yes, yes.
I definitely always appreciate when I see couples and teams of people that kind of work that way, because it's so important to kind of, you kind of help each other along the way when it comes to that I think is, it's always interesting when that happens.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's always, to me, something that I appreciate, for sure, when I'm seeing those things. Um, what what advice would you give someone who's like starting out? Like if they were brand new, starting looking to start something, what advice would you give someone, kind of like that's kind of either kind of thinking about it, or just kind of thinking about like, hey, I think I want to start something. I'm passionate about this. What advice or do you think you would give someone?
I would say, if you have any itch to do anything in business for yourself, I would say jump in. Because at the end of the day, like, if you don't do it, you're gonna probably wish you did 10 years from now. Even if it's hard, even if it's challenging, even if it looks like all the businesses are closing down and things are tough out there, and economies, whatever, that doesn't always stay that way. I know a lot of great businesses are born when things are down and at their lowest points, and that's kind of how we started. Me and you, in 2013, it was a little dip right there. So it
Yeah.
wasn't the best of times, and you kind of grew something from it. So Um, I would just say go for it, because at the end of the day, it's better to do it than not do it and wish you did it.
Yeah. No, man.
Yeah.
That's that's the God honest truth there. I mean, and I don't, and I think like, and I even tell people like, I'm like, hey, I sometimes have those moments because I'm 40, I'm 45. And so like, I'm old, and at least to
Hero.
some people I'm old. Right. And so like, some people will be like, man, that's old. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, imagine if but I tell myself now when I look back, I'm like, I mean, where would I have been if all those times, all those times that I kept telling myself, nah, don't do it. No one, someone else is already doing it or doing something similar or something different. Like no one wants this.
Right.
And you talk yourself out of it for so long. But that's like one of the things in my life that I can safely say that has this like business has kept me, it's kind of one of those things for me, at least, has made me realize like, wow, I'm glad it's something that I could either one, give to my, show to my child, and my daughter, like, hey, go for something that you love and you're passionate about. But it is also something for me to be able to kind of be like, well, I'm doing something I love doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's kind of really the thing is like, it's like, you sometimes can go, kind of like that, like kind of like how you're forward thinking and Aisha's kind of sometimes like, hey, what can we do? Like, you don't have to go full in, jump right off the cliff type of
Right.
thing where you're like, I'm going to quit my job and go all in. Like,
Exactly.
you can kind of like, there's some businesses that can be done on
On the side.
on the side, and you build up to it. Like, and that's kind of what I've done with Deli Fresh Threads. Like, I have a full-time job, but I do Deli Fresh Threads on the side, and I basically, I'm able to do quite a bit being from home, and I sell online. It's not a hard thing to do to be able to kind of, as you're packing orders. I mean, it can get crazy sometimes,
Yeah.
when you're packing lots of orders,
Mhm.
but it's worth it. I mean, you're able to kind of make it work.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I totally get that, man. That's something so big. What is there something when it comes to social, because like I know like that's such a hard animal right now, trying to build that brand awareness. Is there anything that you guys think that has worked for you that you're like, man, what works has been really good for us? Is there anything that you feel that has been working for you, that maybe you want to share, that kind of you can kind of be like, I think things like this do well? And it doesn't have to be like the trends or anything, but maybe something that you've noticed that people really appreciate, or what's helped you kind of keep growing online.
Yeah. I would say the biggest thing is people nowadays they're very interested in any detail or aspect of the business. Um, for instance, I don't know if you're on TikTok, but TikTok is it's funny. We call it the wild wild west of social media, because you can scroll on there and see anything. Like, I mean, if you go on TikTok live, it's all kind of stuff on there.
Mm-hmm.
And what that showed me is it doesn't matter the quality of your content. It doesn't matter, what you're really showing people. It's the fact that they can now see what you're doing at any point of the day. So, for instance, there's businesses on there that all they do is pack things, and they do a live packing things. You can do the same thing on Instagram. Yeah, it's a little awkward for Instagram, for that platform, but you get people on there, they stop scrolling, they check you out, and that could be a potential follower because they like what you're doing, or they just want to see what you're up to. It's almost like the new version of walking through, a strip mall or something, and seeing businesses working behind the scenes. And
Yeah.
that's how I look at it. So, anything that has to do with posting something that's not super polished, I think is kind of like the new way everything is going. People are starting to get kind of numb to everything being super super polished. So they really want to see what you're doing, what you're working on, even if it's just a design, and asking them questions, and basically trying to figure out what the next route you're going to take is in business. If it's a new product, or if it's bringing something back that's something from a year ago, and you want to see if they wanted a new color or something like that. I feel like as much engagement as possible is the right way to go. Like, those days of having a caption that's just, hey, check out this new product, it doesn't work anymore. People want to
Yeah.
they almost want to be there with you, and I
Yeah.
think we have to kind of build our social media presence in that way. I like I said, I'm very forward thinking, so I'm like really into like like the metaverse idea and narrative and stuff like that. So if one day we're all going to be in the same virtual room together. You know, maybe we're not saying exactly what's happening, but we're all together in one
Yeah.
space. Maybe we should start curtailing our crowds to be that way as well. Like, you know, maybe set it up to where you're packing or you're on live more than, once a month or twice a week or something like that.
Yeah.
Like really try to be personal with your followers.
Dude, that's like the cherry on top, dude. You inspired me because like I've been in my head sometimes a little too much and I just need to start cranking. So it's like you definitely I kind of needed this talk more than probably my listeners did. But that's what I love. That's the reason why I do this podcast, man, is because I think there's so much knowledge and so much great stuff from people that I find inspirational and awesome. So I really appreciate
No problem.
you taking the time. Where can people find you, follow you, do some shopping? Obviously follow you on Instagram and all that. Like, where can people find you and get some of those sweet treats for their feet?
Sure. It's we're at Shoe Bakery on Instagram and TikTok. We also have YouTube. It's Shoe Bakery, and shoebakery.com is the website. So you gotta
Awesome,
check us
man.
out there.
I love it, dude. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you so much to Chris Campbell of Shoe Bakery for being on, having lunch with me. Don't worry, we're gonna have some dessert because that makes sense.
Definitely.
Definitely make sure to check them out online, shoebakery.com and everywhere else on social. If you enjoyed the show, definitely make sure to subscribe, tell your friends, do some ratings, all that goodness. If you want to support me, check my website out, Deli Fresh Threads. Do some shopping there. Obviously, spread the word like PB&J. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thanks, everyone.